Oh, hi there, my name's Beth and this is the story of how I renovated my 1904 Dutch sailing barge. This week I set myself the challenge to complete the ceiling. Did I do it? Let's find out. Well, it's day 5 of this two-part special, doing the ceiling. So last week I just finished doing the cutting away of the foam, that hellish job that I'm really glad is over now. I don't want to tempt fate. There's plenty more to do. So now I can just get on with the boarding, which I'm going to do today. One thing I have done is I have made a bit of a decision. I've been humming and hawing what to do about the flooring, and I think a little while ago I asked for your advice in the comments below. And the situation was that these floorboards are on a structure or on some ironwork, so they are the kind of the sole of the boat. So they're cabin sole, these ones. But they're really cold to stand on in the winter, I think because they're such hardwood and they are right at the bottom, they're right in the bilges, there's the top of the bilges. But also there's a massive iron kind of gouge all the way down the middle, which is kind of horrible to stand on, and it doesn't look very nice, and it also collects dust down there. And also there's a bit missing for the bathroom. There's an extra different section up forward, which used to be a separate little cabin-y kind of thing, or in front of a bulkhead, and they are on a rotten beam because historically there's been lots of water coming through into the forward section of the boat from the hatch that used to be for the counterweight, which isn't there anymore. I asked you, what I wanted to do, I should say, is that I wanted to put some insulation down, so some sort of surface, some insulation, and then some wood on the top to make it a bit warmer. But I think lots of you said, obviously you've got to do what's comfortable, and that would be comfortable. Other people quite rightly said it's beautiful wood, and I'd keep the wood. So I think I've got a bit of a compromise. I've got a bit of a best of both worlds. So what I think I'm going to do, I was going to leave the flooring and not really touch it, and I can see a little bit under the flooring to the bilges. But I'm thinking about that now. That's probably that's not a very good idea, because I'm going to start building the walls soon, and the walls are going to go on top of these boards, and I'm never going to get them up without dismantling the walls. So that's a bad plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some plywood, effectively, but there's some stuff that's called phenolic resin hardwood ply, and it has a really nice coating on the top and the bottom, and it prevents it from rot. So that'll be a nice surface, and the edges I can treat with a bit of phenolic resin on the sides as well. So that'll be really nice. So my plan is to take the floor up, put this plywood down, sort of 12mm ply or something, and then put some insulation down, and then put the floor back down again. Best of both worlds. So the wood is still quite hardwood, so it's never going to feel as warm as like pine or something, but it's going to look really nice. So the second benefit to that, other than it being a kind of reconstituted structure without that ironwork and all this kind of stuff, is that I will be able to, in the plywood, I'm going to cut some nice big hatches, inspection hatches, and then the wood I put on top, I can make a kind of liftable hatch lid. So I'll cut the plywood out, and then I'll have another lid on top, so it'll sit on top of the lid so I can lift that in and out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the twin cabin, in the corners, underneath the bunks, but in the corners roughly, I'm going to put two nice big hatches there, and you won't really see them, especially not under the bunks or under a desk or something like that. So that'll be two really good central ones. I'm going to put one in the bathroom as well, because bathroom's always good to have a hatch underneath to where you've got water. Just make sure there's no water dripping or anything. In the forward section, underneath the bed. So I'll have storage under the bed, and then under the storage there'll be an inspection hatch. And I think maybe rather further aft here, I need to kind of rebuild this aft section, which I'm kind of dreading a little bit, but I'm going to leave that until I've got more of the boat sorted out, so I can kind of live in this bit and then have that bit as a bit of a nightmare. So yeah, so that's my plan. My plan is to, before I put the walls in, lift the floor and then put some phenolic resin plywood down. And it means I get to, I know the hull is thick enough, but I get to make a good inspection of the bilges, clean anything out and then rust treat it and all, and just to make it look really nice. So yeah, that's quite exciting. It was the bit that I was kind of leaving. I was going to just kind of ignore it and forget about it, but I know it would play in my mind. And to be honest, the time to do it is now. So I'm going to do it. Anyway, let's get on with some boarding for today. So here there actually is a little inspection hatch. There are a couple through the boat, but there's just one here. And this one was the access panel for the gulper pump. So the shower was fitted here. This was the wall, and the bathroom was on this side. The shower was in this corner, and that is the outlet of the shower just underneath this little bit of wood. So the drain dropped through there. And underneath here is the gulper. So I've still not got rid of this yet. It's just been under the floor. You know, I was going to do it at some point. So yeah, you can see the underfloor, and it's a little bit crusty and a little bit flaky with this bits of rust. And bearing in mind it's been overplated. Bearing in mind it's been overplated underneath, so it's all solid and it's not leaking. But I would really like to clean this out and get it nice and tidy. Oh, it almost looks like I've got a proper ceiling. So of course I've done all the boards through the boat now. So these boards continue, and this board and that board comes across the mast, around the mast, and then they line up with these boards. So this is the front section, and then this section next to the mast support. So I'm really pleased that this mast support section is worked out really nicely. Because there was a slight kind of angle on here on the top of the mast support, but that's just been hidden with these boards. So I've just really gently shaved the foam away just to get the boards in. So the boards are actually touching the foam at this point. They don't have anything to attach to here just now, but then the wall will come up here and that'll provide them support, and I can fix them to the edge of the wall because the next batten is only here. So you might be able to see that I've missed a bit here. And this is because this wire is going through. So I need to actually drill a hole up through the deck here and then put a fitting outside. So I'm just going to leave this, and I'm just going to have this as like a little removable space, little hatch. So so yeah, I'm really pleased with it all. It looks really lovely. So this was all a bit of a kind of faff. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some thicker wood here, and then some nice corner pieces, and then it will have a little lip around it, which will cover over here nicely. So that'll be a nice little bit of trim, so that'll cover all of this bit lovely. So yeah, well that was good. It's been a good morning's work, so I can continue now to work from the back of the boat, so all the way up here, and I can put boards all the way down to here now. So I'm going to do that, but before that I'm going to have a bit of lunch and a cup of coffee. So I'm parched. So I'm cutting the holes out for these cables to come through using the hole saw. But one thing I'm using is a scrap piece of wood, and I need to get the hole saw mandrel, or the drill, right in the centre of the board. So I measured one. I drew a cross on the piece of wood, so I knew exactly where the centre line is. Then I drew another line which lines up. So it means that I can put it on this piece of wood, so I can line it up with the hole, and then I can just drill straight through a little bit and make a mark, and then I've got the mark exactly where I want it, and I can remove this and then cut the hole. So it just saves me having to measure all the time, and so I just made a little jig. I can't remember who said it, but someone said before you start the job, make the tools, or something like that. But yeah, that's the tool. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's day 6. So today I'm going to try and finish off these boards here. This is going to be fairly soon, maybe about sort of 3 boards in, 4 boards in. That will be the time where actually I'm going to start to curve the boards. So I can put full boards in about another 3. And then I'm going to have to start putting sections of board in, and then I'm going to have to fill the kind of gaps with little sections of board. But I'm going to do that later, because I'd actually like to put the plywood up first on the cladding, and then put the boards along. So ideally I'd like to finish the boards on the ceiling and the plywood to finish together. There is an option of putting some beading down the gap to kind of hide my sins, but I'm going to try and do a nice kind of sharp edge. I think that looks really nice. I'm going to try and do it first, and if it doesn't really work, if it looks wonky, then I'll just put some beading in and that'll be fine, and nobody will ever know. So yeah, I'm going to do that. It's still quite early. It's about 7 AM. and I've been awake since 5 a.m. I've just woke up like, but I was so tired last night that I went to bed quite early, so that's probably why. So yeah, so I'm going to continue with that today. I'm going to try and get this side finished, as I say, and that'll be an amazing achievement. Then I've got maybe a couple of days on the other side, and then I should be finished. Then I've got one more day until I need to be back at work, and that's the day where I'll just do little snag jobs, a few little other jobs that are on my to-do list, and also maybe just have a bit of a rest. So yeah, well, let's crack on with it. Right, well, so I've been putting these boards in here, and I've fit these two in. That's Bertie coming in. You want your tree? Wants his tree. Right, so I've been putting these boards in, and I've cut these holes for the light fittings where they are on the you know, on the kind of plan, if you like, and they're designed to drop down here. But I think they're too close outboard. So if you imagine this is the line, so this is actually going to drop down inside the wall. So the wall is going to be along here, and then this ceiling is going to go to here. So this is actually quite far out to the to the outboard of the boat, too far out, whereas it should be further in. So if you see much further down, I don't know whether you can see, there's two cables that drop down there, two wires that drop down there, and that's for the dinette, and that's where these are. But I think they need to be in line as well, and think they need to be here. So it's a little bit of an error. No, it's not an error. It's just a little bit of a kind of decision that I need to make now. But I can make it now rather than, you know, having to live with it, or, you know, making a decision later on when it's much more destructive to change. It's going to be a little bit destructive to change it, so I'm going to have to be careful. So I've been cutting these holes in the board and then putting them up, and that prevents me cutting anything else. But I'm going to have to cut them in place now, and I'm going to have to move them up, and then I'll cut this board out and replace this board, or these boards. So it's a little bit more of a faff, but yeah, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to have a sit down for a bit, just clear my head, and then I can go into it a bit fresher. But yeah, now's the time to make these decisions, to be honest. So while I've got this little hole, I can check to see what it looks like with the lights in. So if I just jam that up there and push that in, doesn't that look nice? Oh, lovely. So before I do the rest of them, I'm just going to use this as a temporary wall and hold this up to see how it looks roughly here. So this is kind of what the companion way will look like. So this is where the wall is going to be, so you've got this amount of space. So you can see this is where the cables were coming through, and it's too far over. It just doesn't look balanced enough. So here is perfect. I think it looks really nice. It's much more it's actually off center, but it's in the high a bit, and I think it looks much more balanced. So yeah, it's definitely the right thing to do this, and definitely the time to do it is now. So I'll just need to cut out this board and then replace this board when I've cut the other holes. Right, well, it's taken me about an hour and a half to undo all of that, but it's worth doing it now. I'm so glad I've done it. It's much better. It's a much better position to have the lights in, and yeah, I'm really glad I did it. Well, it looks really good, doesn't it? I'm really pleased, and I don't know if you can hear, but there's a slightly different sound. It's slightly more of an echo because of the hardwood rather than the foam. So I'm really pleased. So what I've also done is I've put in a temporary wall here. This is in the position where the wall is going to be, but it is made of the types of wood that's going to make the stud wall, but it's got 3mm ply on just to, as it's really loose. And the reason I've done that is because this is the end wall of the kitchen or the galley, and I want to kind of get a feel for the space. So I know it's full of junk now, but it's a really nice big space, and there's lots of space between the benches, so that'll be lovely. It'll be a really nice big kitchen and galley, and big enough for more than one person to cram in. So that's great. So yeah, the companionway, the passageway, that I've got a good feeling for that now, and I've been walking up and down this a lot, and it actually works really nicely. It's a nice space to walk through. It's not too tight on the shoulders, but it's not too big. As you might remember, the previous one was half the width of the boat, which is a bit too big. So yeah, so that's, I've just put some kind of old bits of ply up here just to kind of get a feel for the space. So yeah, that's yeah, it's really, I'm really pleased. And this is of course the twin cabin, so the wall would be here as well. So it is a smaller space. It's funny, because the boat has been one large space, and you kind of go for big spaces, but actually I think the boat will feel bigger when it's got lots of little spaces. And I think just because there's more kind of barriers, you know, it kind of makes it feel that there's longer distance between the two. Anyway, I'm rambling, so yeah, I'm really pleased. It's been a really hard slog. It's been sort of 10-11 days worth of hard work, but it's really worth it, because otherwise you know, this work would have taken me sort of 10 weeks or something. So it would have been me showing you more ceiling every week for 10 weeks. So at least we've kind of got rid of that, and that would have taken us into June, probably even July sort of time, and by that point I'd like to be much further ahead. So it was definitely worth it, and even though it's been tiring, it's been yeah, it's been good, and I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. So I'm going to take a few days off now and get a bit of rest and do something different. Spend some time with Bertie and yeah, sleep a bit. But yeah, the jobs continue. Next up, I think we're going to start lifting the floors and getting down into the bilges. So that's going to be fun. You won't want to miss that, I'm sure. But thank you for everyone that's watched this. Thank you to everybody who's been following me from the start, and thank you to all of the people that have subscribed recently. It's really lovely. I'm really pleased to share their journey with you, and thank you so much. And a special thanks to Carl and Jenna, who bought me a coffee with the link down below. Thanks so much. It's really generous of you, and it truly does help. The bills are astronomical for a project like this, and it really helps. So yeah, a big cup of coffee, a bit of a snooze, and that'll be me for today. So thanks again for watching, and see you next time for some bilges.